What is up, guys? Rice Vlogs back with another video. Thanks for clicking on the link and checking things out. So today I want to actually lower my car a little more if I can, but there's some things that I'm gonna have to do before that. One of them is I do have stretch tires right now, and if anybody watching this has stretched tires in the past, they know that sometimes the tire tends to have a little bit of a lip above your actual wheel lip. So I'm gonna need to kind of shave that down, get rid of that a little bit, because in order for the wheel and tire to travel a little nicer, that's going to need to be out of the way, because I looked at my fenders recently and it's nothing major. Luckily, like, the fender isn't messed up or anything, but there is some paint that's wearing off of the fender because of the tire. So if I can, limit this, get rid of some of that tire and just have the wheel there to be able to travel and clear and not have anything rubbing. Obviously, less rubbing the better, so why not limit that? Because the less paint that I can wear off of this thing, more often, I guess, the better, because if this gets wet and then it rusts and then it doesn't get, re-worn or anything like that, I don't want my fenders rusting out on a brand new car. So we're gonna address some of that stuff and then see if I can go any lower with this thing, because I guess it's probably just me. The more I see it every single day, the more I see, Instagram and other people's cars, it happens, but I see these cars that are on bags and things like that. Right now I'm currently not running bags, so why not try to go a little lower just to make up for some of that look and just have some fun with a little bit of a lower car and just be driving it like it is. So I want to see if I can get it a little lower just to kind of make up for that little bit of a wheel gap that I have yet. But we're just going to kind of play around with it. Today's a nicer day before it starts getting too cold, so we're going to take advantage of today and see what we can do with the car for a little bit. So I'm bringing you guys along with, and I hope you enjoy. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys kind of what we're working with in the back here. As you can see, we have about maybe a good inch and a half gap from the fender to where the wheel actually starts. So like I said, and also having stretched tires, this is pretty open here. I mean, I can shove my whole hand in there almost, you know what I mean? Like all my fingers. So there is a lot of room there for, just a terrible look sometimes, because like you see that gap like that. I mean, sure, when you're, up here looking at the car, I mean, yeah, the wheel's right there, the fender's right there. Like it has the look that I'm kind of going for. But if I can kind of make this even lower, just really make it look like it's bottomed out at all times, I might enjoy it a little better. The front is even higher. Reason why I left it at this height is because of steering. I was concerned with steering and hitting my fenders, but the more that I see static guys driving around, things like that, their fenders are fine. So I think just by like the geometry and how suspension works and everything, I think when you steer, the wheel just clears out of the way regardless. So like I said, that's why I'm going to kind of play around with it today. It's kind of a safer bet where I can, mess with it, raise and lower it, and test out, all the, suspension being loaded, steering, things like that. I'm also going to remove my fender liners, because I realize that I'm not going to be driving this in the winter. I'm going to be parking it, so I'm not too worried about removing the fender liners anymore, because it's mostly just going to be like rain and dirt that will get tossed around in there, and not the salt and grime like that from the winter. So plus the fender liners being in the way a lot, they're getting worn out by the tires and things like that anyway, so they're kind of pretty useless at this point as well, because there's a lot of holes in them and stuff like that at this point. So I'm just kind of alleviating noise and rubbing by getting rid of those, and we're just gonna have open fenders and lower this thing some more. So let's get right into it. I got to get this thing jacked up, and I think I'm going to start with, I'm going to remove the tires, and I'm going to remove those fender liners right away, get them out of there, kind of see what we're working with for clearance. And I know some of the like brackets for the bumper and stuff like that kind of get in the way as well, so I'm going to kind of address some of that. And then on top of that, I'm also going to, while the car's in the air in the front, I'm going to start it, drive it, and I'm going to shave down, like I said, some of this tire lip. So right here you can see this tire lip is actually kind of being a problem with not so much the front, but in the rear. So I'm just going to do it to all four tires, so that way it's done if I ever need to rotate or anything like that. So the car is jacked up right now, and I already trimmed all of the tires
for the most part for now. I might try to like clean it up a little bit, because so for one, I picked up one of these guys right here, and it's not really the correct shape. I know I've seen guys that have it where like the handle would come off here and you would just have like this U shape. Then you can kind of fit it in the tire better. You know, then you can kind of hold it, say with the handle facing over here, and say the edge of it then being, you know, right against the wheel or something, and then they just hold it there and let the car run basically, and let the tire spin, and it'll just shave it. But I couldn't find any like that. This one wasn't really doing me any favors, being, you know, the way that it is, the shape, the handle. So couldn't use that. So I just took a razor blade, left the car off, and just kind of, you know, took the wheel and turned it slowly and just ran the razor blade along. I did a decent job on most of the tires. There's some spots where I kind of messed up, like over here. You can see it kind of got choppy. So I'll probably try to figure out a way to like kind of sand this down or whatever, you know, have the car run and then hold like, I tried holding sandpaper, but it wasn't really doing anything. I tried holding like a rock to try to do it. That wasn't really doing anything. So I'll kind of do some more research and see what I can do. Maybe I can like, I don't know, take some kind of a tool and hold it there yet and do it again just to smooth it out. Maybe I can find the correct thing, but for now this will do, just, you know, temporarily, I guess. But I did do it to all four corners. So as you can see back here, same thing, did it back here. This side, this one was the best one, I'd say, just because of, I did it all in like one go, and it's pretty consistent for the most part. There's a couple spots that are iffy, but it's not too bad. Same thing on that one up there as well. So they are all done now. So now it's just a matter of kind of taking everything off and getting those fender liners out, and then seeing what we can do to lower this thing. So let's get. Alright guys, so we're here at the back of the car. As you can see, inside the rear fender liner here, there is actually a fabric fender liner. So it's not much different than having the plastic. I mean, it isn't too bad having this in here when you are lowered. I didn't have any issues with like noise or anything like that, but I am concerned that the new height might be hitting this, and this is lower than the actual like metal that's up here, so this makes the fender well smaller. The only other thing though is there is all these little screw studs that these plastic screws or like nuts go on to. So I'll take this one off quick to show you. So as you can see right there, there's all these little like metal studs, and there's some like up high here in the fender well where the tire is actually going to be. There's some like over here too that might have even been getting hit before, because you can see the fabric is wearing away from my tire hitting it. So I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to take all this fabric out, and then I'm actually going to grind away these studs just to be safer, because I don't want them like puncturing my tire or anything, especially now that I'm going to be a little lower. So I am going to remove this fender like this liner, and then I'll get back to you guys. So I just removed all this. I just kind of took out what I could and then just kind of ripped it loose from some of the other screws. I didn't feel like taking them out, so a little bit laziness there, but that's right. These screws here, I just kind of left them in. Just ripped it away. There's some fabric there yet. I'll take these out another day, clean them up, because as you can see guys, so there's some buildup of like dirt and everything else in here. So it's nice having that fabric in here, but it also collects stuff that, you know, creates unnecessary whatever, sitting dirt and water and whatever else. Like I said, with winter, now this would be exposed to all the salt and stuff, but it also wouldn't be collecting it though if I did take them out, which I did now obviously. But if I was driving this in winter, now, you know, you wouldn't have salt and everything else sitting here all winter. But anyway, I do want to point out one thing guys that I noticed. So as you can see, here are these studs I was telling you about, you know, up in here, stuff like that. There's actually one that must have been hit by the tire. If it'll focus here, you can see that it bent. And I'll move it there. So it looks like it did get caught by the tire at one point, and now there's a hole there in my fender, which is not too great. There, I just pulled it away. Here, I'll show you guys. So there's that little piece that was a stud. Now it's gone. And now we have a crappy little hole up in here for dirt and everything else to basically go into, and then who knows, it probably would collect in this back corner here, you know, back in here, wherever it's gonna sit, and that's not good. So I will be plugging that eventually. I'll get something, JB Weld, some kind of caulk, whatever it takes, but I'll just probably put some tape over it for now or something, because I don't have any of that stuff. But yeah, that's exactly why I want to just grind these away, because I don't want it damaging my tire, A, or B, doing what it did up there and, you know, having a hole there. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna grind all these and I'll get back to you guys. All right, so as you can see, we ground off any of these as best as I can, because for one, I use the cutting wheel just to get it done quicker, but I can only get so close of a cut. I also don't want to cut the body really. And then I ground it just to kind of smooth it out, and then I just hit it with some blue paint that I had laying around just to kind of help, you know, protect it from any rusting or anything. But this one I got pretty good. That one's just about gone. That one's still a small stud, but the tire probably won't even go close to that. Same with these side ones. I just did them just to do them, just to be safe. That one's gone. Basically, we already know that one got ripped out. So like I said, I'll throw something to plug that hole for now, and then I'll probably find something to seal it up nice. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that stuff. I also had, like I said, on this fender, there was a bit of, let's see, sorry guys. There was a bit of paint that was worn off, so I just hit it quick with that spray paint just to kind of protect it for now from any rain, stuff like that. So I did this side as well as the other side is now completely done. So as you can see, we have the same stuff we're looking at. We got some paint covering some pre-existing studs that are a lot shorter now, or, you know, as close as I could get them, like this one for example, that's more dire to be gone. And then this one over here is pretty short now. Still there, but a lot shorter. One thing to note, this side wasn't such a big deal being the passenger side, but you do want to be careful on the driver's side because of the gas fill. So you have these hoses that run through here that are plastic now, and you're throwing, you know, metal shavings at them and stuff, so you want to be careful with that to not, you know, burn them, blow yourself up with the gas tank right there. You know, just use some common sense and you should be fine. So yeah, that's all done. Now I'm gonna see about lowering the rear more. The weird thing about the Silver Max coils is so I have the shock body as low as I can get it right now. If I show you the threads right there, they're bottomed out. But this spring in the back, it's kind of weird. So right now it's not actually bottomed out. I'll zoom in for you guys to see that. Right there, you can see there's a good amount of threads that are still up. If I lower this all the way down though, the way that the suspension is, it doesn't actually go all the way up at that point, and this would be loose in here. So I'm kind of nervous about it, but I think I'm gonna just try it out. I'm gonna go as low as I can with this and then set the car back down on it. It should hold in there. I don't think the car is gonna ever bounce enough to rattle that loose. It's gonna be kind of a trial and error, kind of test it out, see what happens. So I'm a little nervous about it. I thought about, you know, maybe going through some of my suspension, loosening it up and trying to like put the car under load and then tighten everything back up, so maybe all the bushings and stuff aren't holding it down, you know, maybe it'll hold it better in place. But considering over there is one of the main bolts, that's a alignment bolt, I don't really want to mess with that. So that kind of limits me there, and there isn't much suspension beyond that that's going to hold it down. So yeah, it's kind of hard to say for sure, but I'll kind of mess with it. I'll get back to you guys in a minute and see what we're sitting at. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you what else needs to really be done for the front to work now. So I ended up taking a razor blade and just cutting the fender liner across here because unfortunately it goes really low and cuts off some of this upper area, and the tire rubs a lot, especially over in this area. And then as far as this half, it actually it's like plastic riveted together up here, so you just cut those rivets, and I was able to leave the rest of the fender liner in the back here, so that works out great. And then as far as the other thing that needs to be done here, so you guys can see there's a little bracket here that, if I can get it to focus, there we go. The tire rubs a lot on all this. You can see how it's all messed up, just like that. So this piece here, I'm actually going to unbolt it in the back here, and then I'll cut this piece off. So this whole arm coming up here will be separate from it, and then this will be bent and kind of shaped out of the way, which I already did on the other side, so I'll show you guys what that looks like. Alright, so as you guys can see, there is what the finished product would look like. Just a big open area. See how that piece back there has been cut off, and I painted it blue and everything, so we're good on that. And now I just bent this out of the way really nice, painted that blue because it's a bit underpainted and whatnot, so got that all out of the way. Now we have a ton more clearance in here for the tire to turn and just run in a straight line. It's more or less when the tire's here in a straight line, it wanted to scrape on that. Now it should be nice and out of the way, hopefully. Alright guys, so this here is actually the piece that I had done bolt. So it would be bolted to the car up like this. There's a bolt that goes here, bolt that goes here, bolt here, and a bolt here. So I popped these all out. I actually pulled the bumper away to get in there and get at the bolt screws or whatever, the heads. But then I'm basically just going to be cutting this arm off just like I did on the other one. So it's just going to be a clean cut, you know, along here, and then I'll grind it nice and paint it and everything. This basically is just an extra support up to the bottom of the fender. So by cutting this off, it's really not doing too much, and then by putting this back in there, it's going to hold the front face and the bottom portion of the headlight and all that stuff back together solid, and then you're just losing one support on the fender, but it's still super solid. So not really a huge deal to cut this out of here and, you know, limit having the tire rub on here like it was. So there's that piece back in there. Like I said, there's a screw there that holds the portion of the fender up here down to the bottom portion of maybe some of the subframe, the wheel well, it seems like. And then there's also kind of support for the headlight up here, because without it I was able to kind of wiggle the headlight. Now it's solid again. This is the only support that's missing now for the bottom of the fender. So now I'm actually going to take this portion of the fender though and bend it with a, you know, a linesman's or something, and just kind of bend it out of the way just to create more of an opening inside of here where the tire is actually going to be. So eliminate all that rubbing and everything else. Might be kind of hard to see, I have you guys at such a low angle, but basically I'm just taking this, kind of bending it towards the bumper best I can, so that way it's going to be moved out of the way of the tire. And then as well as, like I said, I'll probably have to beat this a little bit just to kind of smush it flatter, because it's kind of got some peaks and valleys here. So pop the bumper back in, and now it's just a matter of kind of beating on this a little bit with a hammer to straighten it out. Alrighty, so we are now in the garage here with the car, and everything's all buttoned back up, and the car is definitely sitting a lot better. Before we probably had about double the height that we're at. So I'd say with this wheel gap to the fender, we're talking less than an inch, as you guys can see right there. So it's close to, very, very close to 3/4 of an inch. That's in the back. And with, you know, trimming down the tire, like I showed you guys, you know, just taking a little bit of this little lip that was here, taking that away, gave us more clearance, and then this wheel just perfectly tucks inside of the fender anytime I hit bumps or things like that. As far as ground clearance, we are a lot lower there too, obviously. Not a whole lot, but enough to just make the car look that much closer to the ground. So now we're looking at about 3.5 inches. Let's see if I can get, there we go. So 3.5 inches, we're looking for ground clearance. And then the front of the car, again, we're still a little higher up just for the sake of, you know, turning and everything like that. Now to the fender, we're at about 1.5 inches, it looks like. So yeah, guys, the car is sitting a lot better now. It is definitely a lot lower. But yeah, those are just some little things that you guys can do in order to basically, you know, make room for the tires and wheels to clear a little better and just try to eliminate all that rubbing.
Alrighty guys, so that does conclude today's video. Thanks yet again for checking it out. I really hope this was helpful for anybody that has already lowered their Corolla or will be lowering their Corolla. As you could see, basically, there's a few different things in the fender wells that may get in the way of your tires, and also your tires just in general. If they have any kind of stretch or something like that and they get that lip like mine had, it definitely is worth shaving off that extra lip just to get more clearance and eliminate any extra rubbing on your fenders, fender liners, and all sorts of stuff. So it's best to just clear those off, you know, make them a lot smoother, get them a lot slimmer so that way they don't rub as much. Get the tires taken care of if you're going as low as I am, and then also it's just a matter of trimming up those front bumper supports, and then also taking all those studs that were in the back and cutting them off, maybe throwing some paint on them so that way they don't get, you know, ripped off like one of them did for me, give you a big hole in your fender. That's just not a good thing. Or even just having it maybe damage your tire, you know, puncture it, something crazy, get you stranded. So these are some things to kind of help you guys if you are lowering your Corollas, just to get them that much lower, or in general. These are just some things that you guys can look into or do just to kind of help yourselves along this journey of being a lowered Corolla. So anyways guys, make sure you stay tuned, because the next video I'm going to be getting a AMT tuning tune for the Corolla hatchback. So that's going to complement the current catback that I have and the high flow catted mid pipe. And then along with the tune, I'm also going to be getting the EGR delete from Grocery Getter Performance and putting that guy on. So I'll do a little review of that, install it, stuff like that. That way if you guys have questions about it or anything like that, hopefully I'll answer them in that video. And then that way the tune is going to kind of complement that EGR delete, because otherwise I would get a check engine light without it. So stay tuned guys, that will be next week. And yeah, have yourselves a great day. Peace.